Oh shoot, I gotta forget to move this up. What's up, everybody? How y'all feeling today? I'm really excited. Is this for both cameras here? Or am I going to this one camera? What's that? Where am I at? I'm over here. Well, welcome to the beginning of the never ending. This is the story of people. We're excited to have a really special guest today. We've been on this like artist train and really getting to know a little bit more about the local community, especially in the Inland Empire. So we're excited to talk to a big influencer out here. And so anyway, and without further ado, I would like to I guess bring on board Miss Rae Smith.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Before we get started, this is a live show, so anyone who wants to kind of chime in or ask questions, you're more than welcome to kind of put your questions in the chat. We would love to hear more of your experiences, and if you want to ever tune into the show, we do them every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday. It's gonna start around 7 p.m. And then kind of jump into the stories of people. You're more than welcome to hop in chats. We would love it. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
You're excited to jump into it?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's do it. So Mrs. Smith. Smith is a very general name, so I'm curious.
I know, right?
Where does it all begin? Where's the beginning of your life? Do you know anything about your ancestors or anything like that?
I don't. I know that most of my family is from San Bernardino, California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm born and raised there. So my father's parents, I believe, just came from down south, and I don't really know exactly where or have any understanding of anything like that, but they came to San Bernardino
that's awesome.
And lived their life. And on my mother's side, my grandmother is Mexican, and she's from Juarez, Mexico, and she came out to Texas, and then went to LA, and then went to San Bernardino, and my grandfather's family is over there too. So yeah, it's just very it's the American life, right? As being a Black person, at least.
Sure. Yeah. We started combining with different cultures.
Exactly.
Add some spice to it.
Exactly.
So you were talking about your father's side. They're from the South. Have you got to meet your grandmother or grandfather?
Yeah, I absolutely did. Both of them are not here with us any longer, but my grandfather was a great musician, amazing person. He had a lot of kids, and most of them are in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
From what I know of, and I haven't been out there to see all of them, but I have a lot of family in Chicago. So
I don't know if you remember much about your grandfather. Have you got to meet him? You know how old you were when you went?
Yeah, I was a baby. He was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was definitely in our life for a very long time. He actually passed away, I would say, I think 7 years ago.
Okay.
And so I got a really good long span of time with all of my grandparents, actually.
Oh, okay.
So I only have...
So I would like to dive into here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because this has been a very interesting thing. I feel like when you go digger into people's kind of past, you can kind of see glimpses of you in them. Mm-hmm. Can you describe your grandfather?
Ooh, okay. Because I see a lot in all of my grandparents, just little pieces everywhere.
I would love
to
dive into it.
So my grandfather on my dad's side, he was definitely a musician, and he played keys, and he was just was a good, smooth talking, he just out here.
Love it.
And he just was able to bring this really beautiful light of energy in any room that he walked into. As far as my grandmother on that side, she was just this really strong Black woman that I admired every piece of her strength, and a lot of the things that she used to say that she must be just tripping, something's wrong, and a lot of that stuff is actually happening now, and I'm oh, she was never she was actually divinely in tune with what was happening and what was the energy around her. So I was able to, I feel like that a little bit of that is inside of me, as well as the music piece on my grandfather's.
And are they both were in California, or were they out in Chicago?
Yeah, they're both in California. Okay. They were in California my lifetime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
And do you know a little more about your mother's?
Yeah. So my grandfather, he's actually still with us today.
Okay.
And he's really awesome. Again, he also was another musician, played guitar.
Yo.
Yeah.
Makes sense now.
I know, right? He played guitar, and he roller skated. Both of my grandfathers actually were in the music scene together. Met each other, cross paths type stuff. And they both were almost signed to Motown, had their opportunity to go. I don't know too much of the story because there's a lot of drugs, a lot of stuff. But I do know that, like, you know, they had that opportunity of being able to take their music to that next level and stuff. And but they both came up in that same time and era. So definitely got that from my grandfather. And he always gave me tips on music that are hitting and resonating now.
Can you blow it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
There we go. Sorry. But yeah, my
You say he gives you tips.
yeah, he always gave me tips on like how to like dive deeper into the music, and I never understood them until like recently. So I've been getting like a lot of like just revelations of like, oh shoot, like that's what he meant the whole time. So he's really awesome, and really thankful to still have him around as well. And
You said your great grandfather was a keys player.
yeah.
Do you know what instruments, or was he like a singer? Or?
Yeah, he sang too.
Oh,
yeah, he sang as well. And then my other grandfather, he sang and he played guitar.
Oh, he's a guitar player.
Yeah, guitar
Okay.
player. Yeah, exactly.
So like more of like blues, or is it?
It was like doo-wops.
Oh,
Yeah,
yo.
like stuff like that.
Yo.
It's really cool. Yeah,
That's dope.
it's really awesome actually. Because
That's cool.
what's crazy, my grandfather actually gave me his notebook of like what are those called when like jingles and like stuff, like he was writing in a journal. He gave it to me one day and was like, you might have more use for it than I would. So I have this whole like notebook of his writing in pencil, just and they're amazing songs. I'm not even gonna lie, like I was just like, oh yeah, this is something here.
Yeah.
It's very magical. So yeah,
Yo, get excited. And so he comes from the kind of like Spanish style of music.
he's actually black.
Oh,
Yeah,
excuse
so
me.
he's black. I'm sorry, my grandmother was Mexican.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so they experienced a lot of stuff during that time.
And so both of them as well in California.
Both of them. Yeah.
Okay, because you mentioned that she was from Juarez. Right?
Yeah, she was from Juarez. She
Your mother. excuse
yeah,
me.
my mother's my mother's mother is from Juarez, and she came to Texas from what I believe, and then went to California. My grandfather was born. We actually just found this out recently that he was born in Las Vegas, and then moved over into San Bernardino, LA, San Bernardino. So
Yo.
really cool. So yeah.
And your grandmother, was she a musician? Please, that'd be a
No,
trio.
I know that'd be crazy. No, she wasn't a musician, but that was my girl. That was my girl. She was just a really beautiful, strong woman and did not take anyone's shit. I don't know if I could cuss, but
You're fine. This is your story.
she did not. Yeah, she was out here. She was like, oh, you knew who she was, and you knew her energy, and she was just such a beautiful ray of light. But she also was like gangsta out here. She was not playing no games. So
I imagine her path to America was not.
exactly. And you know, I'm just very grateful to have such strong, beautiful light of energies from all my grandparents, because they're all
for sure.
they have such beautiful energy, every single one. And it's like, it's kind of crazy how they all kind of intertwined with each other back in their time too.
So then after kind of seeing your grandparents,
Yeah.
right? What is your mother and father like?
Yeah.
That must be so interesting.
I know. So my dad is actually a very he was a crazy creative. So I do a lot of things, but he did everything and more, and he did it before we had all the extra stuff and all the technology that we had. Like, he was a graphic designer.
Yo.
He did he was a producer. He was a mixing master. He did what are those called, airbrushing styles, like back in the day. He would break dance, like party promoter, DJ, like so many things. And he did it on such a high level, on such a really, really, really high creative level. And in San Bernardino, when there was nothing, they don't know.
No, they don't.
You know, like, and he was learning this stuff like just easy, like, and like when Adobe Photoshop first came out, he was like, he made so many like business cards, like people's first business cards. Like, half the people I know in San Bernardino that like started businesses back then, he was the one that made the business cards, and it was
So he's like
crazy.
kind of like this Renaissance man in the general
Exactly.
sense. Being able to kind of just be able to adapt to the situations that it need be.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, he was amazing. musically inclined too, completely. I mean, obviously with all the
For sure.
all the music in there. So really awesome. My mother, she is this just really beautiful, strong woman that has really endured so much and still has been able to stand up tall and be like, I got this. And I'm so grateful to have seen that, because it helped me go through the things that I went through, and be strong in that, because I've seen it up close and personal, So both my parents together, they were really big San Bernardino people in general. So getting together, it was like, everybody knew who they were and stuff. So it's really cool.
The big community focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, okay. And so when you were born in San Bernardino, right?
Yeah.
And raised throughout that time?
Yes.
Can you describe kind of the childhood, like before you got to school? Do you remember any of that?
I remember.
For me, it's hard. So.
Yeah, honestly, I remember that being like a really good time in life. Like, I remember just a lot of joy, a lot of creativity, a lot of trips, a lot of, like, even when I look back on pictures, it was like this perfect family. It was like this mom, dad, me, my little brother, and that was, you hear it on the radio, and they'd be like, oh, Disney trip for 4, you know what I mean? And it was just like, that's how I kind of pictured it. It was like this perfect, family life that we were able to kind of like have.
Sure.
So it was really cool. But San Bernardino is still San Bernardino, so it was like, we were the part of the family that was able to have those little pieces of joy. But I mean, I definitely was, all of my family, most of them are from San Bernardino, and I've seen so many different kinds of lifestyles and them play out. So I was very fortunate to have the kind of the beginning pieces of my life in that way.
Yeah,
so.
It's very positive. So
Exactly.
I'm curious here, because obviously as your child, you see a lot, you're absorbing a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of our community is probably from the San Bernardino and the Empire area.
Yeah.
So it's been not the easy journey for people out in San Bernardino County.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on like kind of that experience for you, where you like really just focus on the kind of like your own family, mom, brother, or is it more like you were seeing the extended family, interacting with them on a daily basis, kind of seeing the life of theirs growing as well?
Yeah, definitely interacting with them a lot. I have my clan of cousins, my clan of friends, my, the people that we all, because my father and my mother knew so many people. We have a lot of extended cousins and family people, who aren't blood, but it's our tribe. It's our people that we've been around and grew up with. And it's definitely, but San Bernardino is, man, it's tough, because I'm the kind of person that really watches things and takes them in and understands the feelings of the things that happen. So I was able to really absorb a lot of different kinds of lives and perspectives and choices that people make. And my dad and my mother grew up in the hood. So it wasn't like they had like the best foundation, and they created something for me, and my brother, and for our family. But I mean, going out, I remember specifically times where my dad, he wasn't a gangster or anything, but he knew everybody.
Of course.
So they all, exactly, and he grew up on the block, but he was the artist, he was a creative, and people really protected him for that.
Sure.
And I just remember a lot of times being on the west side and hanging out with some of the, kids and stuff. And then I see one of their dads go up to my dad and be like, hey, take your kids and go. Like, y'all need to go, like, right now, and go home and don't come back over here for like a week, And I remember distinctively seeing things like that. And I just remember knowing that there's love, but it's just in different forms, and, but, you never know, because you might hear somebody's going that night, know, and, you understand that this is a lifestyle, and you kind of just try to be smart and move the right way.
Sure. It's one of the things that I find, like, when you're going through, especially early in your life, and you're going through, there's you get attached, right? That's the main thing as a kid. You just want to kind of like explore, and you want to just be free. And you have no fear, because what is there to fear? Like, like,
we're out here, we're outside,
we're live. Like, what's going on? Why is everyone so,
right?
So did this kind of like really affect you, seeing like the troubles of being kind of like, I don't want to say sheltered in a way, but like being protected in these spaces? Did you kind of feel like as you were getting older, getting into like school, is that when you started really realizing like because I imagine I don't know if you're more of a family oriented person or more of a friendship person or maybe a mixture of both, but I'm really curious what kind of like that elementary school, middle school life and seeing I don't know where you went to school, but that dynamic.
Yeah, so I went to school at Rio Vista Elementary. I love that school. But it's in the hood. It's in like the Delman Heights area of San Bernardino. And so I remember my mom went there when she was a kid. So, yeah, so she wanted us to go there, and that was like a whole thing. And when we went there, I just remember like as much as like we have like a cool foundation, like our life is still immersed in this dark cloud of whatever happens over in San Bernardino. You know what I mean? So we were able to, I was in school, but I seen crazy shit at school. Like things would happen. I just remember like there would be days where certain stuff will happen and I think I would just kind of go numb. Like I was just like, okay, like, I'm protected. Like I always knew, I don't know why, like since I was a kid, I always knew I was protected in some kind of way.
By who? By what? Oh,
over the years, yeah, I felt safe. Like over the years now, I definitely am understanding what kind of spiritual guides and ancestors I have around me that are protecting me, as well as just knowing that you are protected because of nature, because of God, because of whatever God we believe in or whatever the case may be. I feel like in whatever we believe in, there's like a return of protection with it. So I've always kind of felt the root of that. And when things would happen, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but I was also like, okay, well, just make sure that you're good. Like you gonna be good and you're gonna move accordingly and do what you can for others and if you move like that, then you'll always be in a good space. So
this is interesting. So what it feels as if like, this is, I'm starting to get interested now.
Yeah.
Your childhood space, right? What is your communication like? Who do you talk to? Who do you kind of like open up with? Do you have any of that resource?
I think I had friends. I had friends for sure. Like growing up, I had a lot of friends that I was able to be over their house and have those conversations with. But I think I kind of like I don't ever think about this actually. So, but like going back, I felt like there were so many layers of me that I wasn't going to be able to understand at that young of an age. So I wasn't able to open up in the ways that I am now. So I had to learn that. And I feel like that's also like deep rooted in like cycles and, generational cycles and stuff like that. But
that's what I'm curious, because even describing some of the things that you're talking about, like describing like your, as you're growing through your ages, right? It's like a lot of things is happening around me, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can explain them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, and I think that's interesting because anytime I find like when you go through life in journeys and you feel like you don't want to know if you want to share too much, especially about those times.
Yeah.
Because it has to do with others.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But those others have affected you as well.
Yeah.
You're like seeing things that are happening around you, and it's changing you.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it be small or minute.
Yeah.
It's slowly forming you to become who you are today.
Exactly.
Any key things maybe through your childhood you have experienced or explained, or I think another good question is, you said you had a little brother.
Yeah.
Okay. And were you guys really close? Did you get to communicate with him about the things that you were seeing, and be able to kind of like discuss those things as you grow? You
know what? No, actually, me and him, we barely developed and grew our relationship the past like 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
So growing up, like we were around each other, but there was so much, I would say, like chaos and things that we couldn't fully understand, just like reacting to our environment, that we weren't able to like each other, if that makes sense. Like,
how old is the difference in age?
2 years.
Oh, you guys are like,
yeah, and we're both Leos too, so
they're like right next to each other too.
Yeah, like our birthdays are right next to each other. And then like we're close in age too, so we've seen a lot of things together.
But you're not seeing the world differently from him.
No, but we learn differently because we're both different, if that makes sense. So we have different traits that we're taking from our mother and our father.
Can you explain that?
So I would say like
It's not a negative way.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
just
No,
what it is.
absolutely. So like I have seen. I mean, there was a certain point in life where everything was all happy-go-lucky, everything was beautiful, everything was what it was, and then there was a certain situation that happened within the family that diminished that immediately. And it was so I have a little sister, but the little sister came outside of the marriage, and I was the one that found out. And I was the one that had to tell the parental situation. So that day, everything changed because it wasn't this perfect rose-colored life that I thought it was. It was actually this fake painted, whatever, like, oh yeah, this is what life, this filter is going to be the life that you're going to see through. And then that shit was ripped. And it was like, oh, this is real life. And real life showed the traits of, just non-accountability, complaining about things that already are, which is only feeding into the cycle of traumatic experiences and chaos and things like that, and just not seeing people love themselves properly, really giving themselves the real love that is needed in order to live instead of survive, because we were in a survival state,
So, can I ask how old that was?
I was 12 years old.
Yikes.
Yeah. That was kind of crazy.
Yikes.
It's kind of crazy.
That's really early.
Yeah.
And I guess the final question I have is, do you know how old your sister was at the time?
My sister was not born yet. She was actually in the
okay.
belly. And it was a crazy situation. It was real deep, but I'm not going to go too dark. But it was one of those situations where I've seen different perspectives of people and the way that they react in situations without love and growth and just wanting to be a better person. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of weird. I
imagine so.
Yeah.
My parents are divorced, and one of the things I found was like really hard, right? Is that I was the only child. So you kind of saying like you have like you and your brother, and you mentioned there was this kind of department.
Yeah.
Right? You two were close at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Or am I wrong here?
Yeah. We were, me and my little brother.
Yeah. Right.
We were close. Close as in like we were living in the same house and we're seeing each other every day.
Okay.
But I would say like close, like the way we are now, nowhere near.
Okay.
Nowhere near.
Okay.
But the protection was there. The love was there. But again, at that time, none of us knew how to love ourselves properly because we weren't even getting examples of how to love ourselves.
So wait, I'm you don't mind if I'm sticking here?
No, please.
I'm digging.
Go ahead. Dig.
So I'm curious here about like you and your personal kind of like relationship. I'm talking about prior to this all happening.
Yeah.
You mentioned that like again, that question I was asking, who are you communicating to? Were you like communicating with your father, your mother a lot, or was it like with your cousins? Or like, is there someone you can like, any key people that like you can, I don't know, during that kind of, 1, 2, 3 years old to 12 years old, is there any key people you're like, these people like I was really close with?
Yeah, I have some cousins, like my cousin Ashley, my cousin Davisha. Those are my older cousins that kind of I got to see and watch and grow with. And then I have like some of my friends, my like elementary, middle school friend, Asia, my best friend since I've known her since kindergarten. And that's one of my girls, but it's like, I have a few people like that. I have a homegirl named Juliana, Gigi, and she was also somebody that I, just shared so much life with and so much time with, especially when things started getting rocky too, because there was a point where things kind of fell apart. And so I have my people that were there growing up from up to 12. And then after everything started happening, I got really close to my friends because we ended up going through like losing the house and not having anywhere to stay and kind of just going from here and there and figuring things out. So I had friends that I would stay with for periods of time.
And that's obviously 12 is you're in middle school, right?
Yeah, you're going in, or you're middle school. Yeah, you're middle school.
You're in middle school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was in 7th grade. Yep, 7th grade. It was crazy. It was wild.
I understand now. Essentially, everything that you knew now is kind of like put in a whole spiral. Can you describe your personality before and after? Like who is right now?
Right now is
Before everything, like
before everything. I mean, I feel like I was just a kid of the world, just happy, just wanted to be creative whenever I can and do anything that I wanted to do, but also very relentless, very very rebellious. I don't like being told what to do. Definitely didn't like it then. Can deal with it now, but tactically.
Sure.
But it was I was very much a just a free spirit. I've always been a free spirit, but back then it was just real free. real free.
So when that happened, right, and you see kind of like the I don't want to say like the broken promise, let's say that.
That's a good one. I like that.
What was reality like for Rae now?
Numb. Yeah, very much shut down. I was good. I was still happy. I'm still, hey, oh my God. But it was a coping mechanism. It was easy to do that because I don't have to explain all the sad stuff going on in my life. And if I did, I can say it in a joking way, or we can it's cool. And I kind of just learned how to adapt in that kind of
I have a feeling. I'm like, there's something going on here, Sarah. I'm feeling something right now, Sarah. I'm telling you. So this is interesting, and I'm curious here because this is not this is not what you probably intended from this.
No, hey, we're here.
But my point was that it's kind of like an evolution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's someone there's a philosophy I follow, right? Essentially, it's like who you are, the image that people see you.
Absolutely.
Right, and then who you are under stress. Because you're kind of like have this thing going on. Everything's cool, and then when you're put under stress, then I want to say the real you is exposed, but more of just like how you respond to that.
Exactly.
Right? And it seems as if you went from very like influential, super influential, whether it be absorbing the world, giving to the world.
Yeah.
And then you went to extremely steady.
Yeah.
And you became very like, I don't want to say conscientious, but maybe conscientious.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know if you're in your head a lot or more if it was just like, hey, look.
Yeah.
Listen, guys. I'm still good. I'm still here, but I don't know who to trust now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this like the dynamic
Absolutely. Now? Absolutely. Because I couldn't trust myself. I broke up a family. I like in my head at that time, I broke up my family. I had news that I had to tell my mother, and my father did something I never thought was a thing. And telling her, I know how my mom is. She was out. She was like, "Oh, I'm done. This is a wrap." And I'm just like, "Oh," and I knew, and I held it in for like a week because I became a grown up. Like I became someone that had to deliver some kind of news and didn't know how to do it, who to do it to. I remember telling my mom, I had her drop me off at church. I used to go to church by myself because it was like my safe space at the time. My dad knew the pastors because he did all the graphic design and stuff for them and stuff. So I would go there. And I remembered her dropping me off, and I was like, hey, so, Dad got a whole nother baby on the way. And the girl told me, and, it was like a whole thing. And she was like, what? And kind of like, I seen everything kind of just like go in her brain. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pray for y'all. And I just went to church because I knew there was nothing I could do after that. And that was a wrap. Family done. Everything's done. Like, everything's done. Life as I know it is over. So I couldn't trust myself in that perspective as a child at 12 years old because like, why was I given this kind of information to be able to tear apart what I thought was real? So it's super deep, but that's kind of like where I was at the time, at least in retrospect, thinking about it now, it's like, okay, there was that. So I can be around people. I'm happy. We're all good. Everybody's having a good time. Of course, you have your sad moments and everything like that. But I was in survival mode. I was like, I got to make sure I'm good because I don't know if I'm gonna have somewhere to sleep tonight. I don't know where my dad is. I know my mom's working, but she kind of had to get herself together. Like she had to, and I didn't understand that till later. But it was one of those things where I was like, I'm alone, and I don't know where my brother is. My brother's wherever he can be at. So we both. Every pulling up to friends' houses and they're letting us stay there for weeks at a time. We're eating with them. Like, I think about that kind of shit now, and I'm like, damn, like that's crazy. And I'm so blessed and protected because I've never had anything crazy like sexual abuse or any type of like things that can happen like that from being a young lady in anyone else's home ever happen, because I really felt like God just really, or my ancestors, whoever had really, really, really came in and made sure that anywhere I went into, there was like a little bit of protection, and these families like cared for me. That's another head on the table, and yet I still ate. You know what I mean? So it was a crazy switch, but that switch, I felt like it just turned to survival mode. Be good, Rae. Be happy. Try not to make an inconvenience out of yourself, and let's survive another day. Let's get another day going.
So, when you described this kind of two personalities, right?
Yeah.
You said one was very free, and another one was kind of coping through this cycle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I keep pushing this because I found it so hard, right?
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned you had some people through elementary school that you could lean on.
Yeah.
You have some people you like. Friends seems like a big part. Family
Absolutely.
does as well. But you also have two very strong families, right?
Yeah.
Right. You have your father, your mother from your father's side. Grandfather and grandmother.
Yeah.
And you kind of have. You mentioned that your father from your father's side.
Yeah.
A grandfather from your father's side.
Yeah.
He has a ton of kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, do you kind of felt like your family was kind of like not just like immediate? Obviously, there's going to be disruption there, but you felt like your how extended family was treating you differently? Do you feel like their dynamic changes too?
There were definitely dynamic changes, but I feel like I never really looked at it and I never really acknowledged it. I just tried to move through it because family's family. So I'm just like, if anything negative is coming out of it, I don't want to add to the negativity. I just want to kind of move accordingly and, just accept it as what it is. And that's kind of how I move, because I'm like, I'm not going to hate you. I don't hate anyone really, so I'm not going to spend too much energy in, like, oh, all this stuff is happening, so I just kind of let that be. But I did have such great influences though that came in at just the nick of time. Like my uncle, very, 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 he taught me almost everything I needed to know about photography. And I was learning photography from high school. So I've been in the professional photography world for about like 13 years. And it's just, he's really, really given me that just knowledge and power. And it was something, is that me? I think that's me.
I was saying, I think it might be me. No. I thought I was thinking, Sarah, you're fine. I was thinking of me, like, oh shoot, my bad.
But yeah, no, he gave me so much knowledge, and he took me out of my environment. So it would be like, hey, I'm taking you on 4th of July, and I'm like, oh, okay. And he lives in Anaheim, and so big difference. And he's half white, half black, so different experience, whole different world. We're going to Disneyland. Okay, cool. All right, we could just go to Disneyland because that's what he used to work there and stuff. And his wife used to work there. My grandfather used to work there as well. So, Disney was like very heavily influenced and one of those places where, it was like happy. Okay, cool. I don't have to be in San Bernardino looking at, things or being at some other family's house that are just they're not doing things that are positive, or it's always an argument, or it's always someone getting mad or cops being caught or something, So, I had a few people in my life that came in and swooped me up and was like, Rae, okay, let's get you in different environments and let's teach you things so you can have things that stay with you and be able to use those in the future, which I'm so grateful for now, especially like, man, now I'm like, I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't have those tools, it's crazy.
Your uncle, do you know why he was doing it? Did he ever talk to you about the reason why he would go and pull you from these certain areas or times, or he was just like, hey, you're young, just let's,
Oh, he loved me. He loves me. Like and I love him because it's like, it's one of those, he just cared. He's seen the light in me. He was so close to my dad, so close to my dad. And they grew up together and they started business together and did all the things. So they were really big. So it was a big deal to have me as like, a direct access to my father, because my father passed away. So once he passed away, my uncle, that was a big piece of him. So it was just like I think to keep the connection and keep that light that he seen in me. He didn't want me to lose that, being in San Bernardino and going through all the things that I had went through. So yeah, no, he's awesome.
You went into high school, and this is like, you're talking about ninth grade, right? So this happened around seventh. So 2 years later, you're in high school. Was that like kind of like, all right, reinvent myself? Because everyone kind of steps into high school like, all right, it's time, okay?
I was outside.
It's time. Your boy, okay?
It was a wrap.
New me, okay?
Man,
new year, new me.
I'm telling you.
So what was that kind of high school experience? You mentioned that your uncle would do a lot of photography stuff.
Yeah.
But it seems like also that, I don't know if my timeline's wrong here, but your father had passed during this time as well?
He passed when I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was still around, but our relationship had strained ever since that day.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that relationship kind of severed, and again, being numb, being very shut down, but just trying to maneuver and survive, and then also being a rebel and not wanting to listen. It was just a big pot of rebellious Rae and dad who's getting sick because he also had kidney failure. Yeah, so it's a whole bunch of things. So, a real good pot of this relationship is fucked, and so I had to, that's kind of where it went to. And then in high school, I was a rap. I was bad. I was out here. I was getting drunk. I was getting high. I was having parties. And I hung out with nothing but older people. So, freshman year was solid. Up towards the end of the year, I started smoking, and then it was pretty much going crazy after that. So
real life, right?
real life stuff, and then, it was wild. It's a good time though.
To the other side, yo.
That was a great time over there. I don't know who I thought I was, but
You're talking about San Bernardino. We're not talking about like lightweights over there. This is not like we're in like, they have some real hard stuff out there. I'm so surprised that you didn't get caught up in like the hard stuff, because they have some hard stuff out there.
God, every day.
Like some hard stuff.
Because when I tell you, I was getting blacked out drunk every weekend. Me and my homegirls, we would walk into parties. My Instagram name used to be OG Henny Love. Like I was literally outside just getting drunk, bringing fits to party. I mean, that was a little after high school, but there was like this period of time from like into freshman year up until I was like 20. That was just lit. It's lit.
Time.
Lit.
It's time.
And we were going out. I was going to Vegas. I was beer pong champ, like everything. I wasn't playing no games. No games.
Now during that time, right?
Yeah.
You're going through all these awesome, it's a journey. It's like, and you're doing it with friends, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, this is not the best crowd, but I want to kind of like share that a little bit, how was this feeling? Was this like you felt like you were trying to get back to that freedom side of you? Like, was it more of like a yearning for like, oh man, I just want to be free? Or was it more of like the kind of coping thing that you mentioned? Do you know kind of
I think it was a mixture, because there was definitely, inside of me is always this like, I gotta be free, like all the time. It's never stopped. It's there because I just feel like I'm saying, it's life. This life shit is just, it's crazy. So but during that time, I felt like it was a little bit of coping, but it was also a little bit of rebellion. Like, I could do whatever. I'm grown. I've been through grown stuff. I've done things and had to make hard decisions, so I deserve to go out and have fun. And it also, I wouldn't even say it was like a bad group, because we all had so much fun. We just all had our things that we went through, and we were like, this is our time to not feel it right now. This is our time to have fun and figure new things out and make friends. And and there's a little bit of like me trying to fit in, trying to, like, I've always been me and I've always been who I was, but I grew up I wasn't like the first pick of the bunch, when it came to like guys or anything like that. So I had, my teeth were fucked up when I was a kid. And it's not even like I say it lightly now, because it's like, people were like, oh, well, it couldn't have been that bad, but it was really bad. It was really, it was nothing like this. So it was very much getting made fun of every day and all this stuff. But I always made it a joke, so I never really phased me. So I started becoming more of a woman, and like dressing up and doing my makeup, and I just felt like I needed to be something that whatever I thought was right at the time. And
was it more for you, or was it just more to, you mentioned that kind of fit in? It was more.
I think it was to fit in, because I thought that was for me. I thought that that's what I was supposed to do in order to be where I wanted to be. And I was like, okay, I gotta get cute. But I always had fun with it too. So it was always a creative process. So I'm getting dressed. Okay, I'm gonna make an outfit. I'm gonna make this look cute. And I'm gonna do my hair. Okay, let me try my hair this way. I seen somebody do this. I'm gonna try that. And put all that together. And then we're going out to Vegas to get drunk for the whole weekend. You know what I mean? Like,
yo, that sounds like an awesome high school experience.
Oh, it's crazy.
So then, full dynamic then.
Yeah.
I want to go deep here.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to take a sip or we're getting straight into it.
Go ahead.
So I'm curious because one of the things is that a big thing, and maybe I may be wrong here, is not just the relationship between women and men, but especially a relationship between daughter and father. I'm curious on what your relationship with love is going through kind of high school.
Ooh.
I'm sorry.
No. You're good. No, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I took the sip.
It's coming.
Definitely directly affected. definitely daddy issues. Definitely, the whole shebang. Oh man, but I'm still dealing with a lot of the what is the word, like a lot of the repercussions from the broken relationship that I'm having to heal through now and understand and see and be like, oh, Rae, you might be the problem sometimes. Like, you might have to, look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay. But, it definitely put me in situations where I was looking for someone to come and rescue me, to save me from the pain and teach me and do all the things that someone, my father wasn't there. I didn't allow my father to do, because as much as some of there was wrong on both sides.
Sure.
And I had to realize that later, but he was doing the best that he could, and I was in a situation where I'm his child, like I'm him, like so his child, looking at him like he's not, like he couldn't tell me what to do. He couldn't. I would see him, and he we were at this point where we just couldn't say, like, you just can't tell me what to do. Like, you can get mad, but what do because I'm having to figure out this life stuff, just like you're having to figure it out, and mom is having to figure it out, and Ricky's having to figure it out. You know what I mean? Sure. So it's like, and but that also put me in situations where it came into like relationships. That's kind of how I treated that. And instead of being my authentic self and knowing what kind of pain that I had to handle, or what kind of red flags are going to trigger me personally in situations, and what kind of red flags I can give to other people when it comes to that kind of situation. But definitely directly rooted from not having someone who was able to be stable there and be in that situation. So
then if you're kind of like seeing high school, and I have to ask this, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious, what is your relationship with school? Like, any teachers or like, you need some love? Like, any teachers trying to help?
I had some amazing, it's crazy because, so I've had a lot of crazy things happen in my life, right? Sure. Like a lot of things that were like really, out there. But again, it just takes me back to the protection. Like, sure. I've always had someone come around and be like, hey, is everything good? Do you need anything? I've had amazing teachers in my life that are I still know them and still have, like, I know if I see them, it's that same love and it's that same care. Sure. They've definitely, it's been a thing, but it was, I was rebellious. I didn't know how to take in a lot of the help. I didn't know how to take in a lot of the ease that people were trying to give me.
And I imagine school was like just okay, just breezing by, or was it more?
I was ditching.
Yeah.
I was not in school. I mean, but I always passed classes because I'm not dumb. Like, I was able to do that. I just didn't want to do what they were doing, and I loved math, still love math till this day. But it's, I went to math class, maybe, and then choir. I was in choir.
Got the
I was in,
vocals.
yeah, and I also played saxophone since fourth grade. So that was like a thing. Yeah. Yeah. It was so that was like a safe haven also, like that I was able to kind of carry with me from elementary school to middle school, played a little bit in high school, but did more choir in high school. So,
But there is this like musician side that's still tugging on you.
oh, for sure.
It's like, no, we can't let you
Oh,
go.
for sure. That was the
Get the
only
sax.
thing that was safe. That was safe. I could go and play my saxophone. That was safe. I can go sing and make a song and play the guitar. My friend taught me how to play guitar. My end of my freshman year.
Yo.
Was like, okay, cool. Like this is safe. I can make my own song. This is safe. I can sing at church. This is safe. But that's why music has never deterred from me, because it's so much more real, and that's why I'm so patient with it too. I love the way my music. I've grown with myself through music, because people really have gotten to see the growth instead of just seeing the perfect painted picture. I have plenty of videos from when I was in like freshman year, sophomore year, playing guitar, singing some like Alicia Keys songs and, some Dom Kennedy songs, stuff like that, where I was just like, like all those little acoustic vibes, but being in San Bernardino, that wasn't being celebrated. Sure. I would say people loved it, but it was very intimate. It was very raw. It was very vulnerable. Right. So I noticed, sharing that was only in those intimate, vulnerable times, one-on-one, or it's like, open mic. And even then it's like, Ray's out here partying all the time. She play guitar. Oh, okay.
Right.
But did it. And people understood, but you have to experience it to understand.
So really understand.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going through kind of this music phase journey, right? Mm-hmm. You're also going through like your own personal life changes, with like love and just like your interactions with people in terms of like having fun. You mentioned that being safe, right? But you also mentioned that being free. Mm-hmm. You can't have both, though, right? Like, because if you want to be safe, right, that kind of means you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You also want to be free, but if you go and roam, then might go into some dangerous waters here.
Right.
What was it like leaving the kind of like San Bernardino, going, and now you're tapping into that photography world, and now going to like Irvine and taking photos and like experiencing a different side of the world.
Yeah,
what was that kind of like that freedom with safety combined together, photography? I'm curious, kind of like that. Those uncle trips, leaving San Bernardino versus that. I don't know how much traveling you had in your experience of life.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, that was a thing. It was a thing because I learned something every time. I was learning, whether it was with photography or just life. My uncle is a great philosopher in his way that he philosophizes.
I understand what you mean.
You know what I mean. But the way that he, interprets life, he definitely had a lesson for everything, and had something to say about everything. So it was really good for me to be able to be in that, because I couldn't take the San Bernardino Ray over there.
Yeah,
I just couldn't, cause he was not having it. It was like, oh, you want to act like that? Okay, I'm gonna take your ass home. I'll be like, okay, all right, I'm gonna be good, because I want to go to Disneyland tomorrow. Sure. But going into that, I mean, he taught me everything he knew. And what's crazy, he was dyslexic, and he failed out of high school. He felt like, he wasn't smart enough, and it just kind of went with that and was like, I'm funny and I could play drums and I could sing. So, okay, whatever, and did that life thing. And he learned photography from the ground up. He read all of the manuals and figured out how to work the cameras, even though he knew that he didn't, he had to literally sit there and force himself and give that time. And anytime you spend that kind of time and energy into something, you're always going to receive something from it.
Mastering the craft.
Exactly.
Sure.
And he gave that to me. And I mean, we were going to like Compton College doing photos. I got to learn how to do like graduation photos and what that looks like, and the organization process of it, and the pre and the actual doing, and then the post work and editing and all the things like that. Organizing it beforehand so everything is already, done. We did really big like banquets and elite fraternity gatherings and conferences and stuff like that, as well as going to like kids daycares and doing like their little graduations and stuff. So I got to experience a lot of different kinds of life and learn a lot. There was a lot of times where I just had to take in a lot of the stuff and really just see different ways of living rather than just being in San Bernardino and not having access to professional ways to be paid through art. You know what I mean? And to actually have things coming in. So I think it taught me how to work. It taught me how to take in things and be able to use my mind rather than just being like, oh, whatever, it's too hard, I don't want to do it.
So what's the next step here? I'm there's two things I didn't get into here. And one is like your mother. The second thing is that like I'm curious on kind of like what you're because you're getting closer, right? Sophomore year, junior year, senior year. Like, what in the world am I gonna do? You're 17. What are you thinking about? Like, what is kind of like the fun is gonna be over? Like, you know, what's kind of.
At 17, all of my friends were in college. So yeah, like I was, so I always hung out with like way older, like my friends in freshman year were seniors.
Oh, got it.
You know, and I had a lot of, and those are my close friends. Those are people that protected me, that made sure I was good. And we just built really strong bonds with, and also the ones that we were getting drunk with every weekend. So, you know, but I was also very wise for my age. So it didn't feel like I was like a 14-year-old hanging out with, you know, older people, you know, but I had friends at 17 specifically. I had a whole bunch of friends at Cal State San Bernardino. So that was we were going up. We were going up over there, and that was life. I was like, I didn't plan on really going to college. I didn't really I knew that I wanted to be an artist in some kind of way. I knew I wanted to do music. I knew that I had a powerful, strong character with my voice and my songs and my songwriting. So I was like, that's what I want to do, and I'm gonna, you know, try. But I didn't know how to commit. I didn't know what I needed and what it was going to take to do that. Plus life was happening too. So we were getting drunk, we were doing all the crazy stuff, definitely depressed, definitely, have had some crazy thoughts go in my head and had things happen. But, you know, doing a lot of drugs, doing like e-pills and doing like, you know, smoking a lot of weed, drinking a lot of alcohol. I don't even know how I drank that much alcohol back then. But that was life. And I was like, I'm just going to keep doing this. I'll find a job and I'll work towards my goals and be the artist and be what I want to be, and work with my uncle doing photography when I can, and, you know, figure it out. But I knew that was what I didn't really want to go to college. I think I went to college, but I didn't stay for long, and it was just really to kind of please the situation and the people who had something to say and things like that. So
you're going through your music journey, and you're mentioning, like, especially you hang out with a lot of older people, so you grow up faster. And this just seems like to be a trend of kind of like always having to grow up a little bit faster. Someone says, like, when you grow up too fast, you don't remember what it feels like to be a kid, right?
Right.
But it seems like you try to get like that burst of like kidness, like, you know, whether it's hanging out with your friends and such as you're going through that journey of that life. And when you graduate, right, and you graduate high school, and now that you're kind of like, okay, cool, you know, did you go to your graduation?
Yeah, barely. Barely. I mean, I was there. I was definitely there, but I was so like not caring of. I was like, I just want to graduate so I can be out of here. Because that night I went to a college party. Like, immediately was like, okay, done. All right, let's go. Like, you know, so.
I love it.
I know, it's wild.
No, it's real. So going through this kind of like feels like a cycle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because almost every weekend you're going out.
Yeah.
I don't know how long you were going through the cycle, but what was kind of the turning point?
I got older. I seen all the guys that I was hanging out with, all the guys that I was hanging out with, they were getting older. They were way older than me. So things were, you know, changing in their lives. And I knew I just had to get a job. I had to get some money in there. I had to figure it out. So I think by 21, I was just kind of tired out on going out and doing everything. And which is ironic because that's when everything's supposed to happen. But I was tired. So but I don't know. It was I think 21. I got my first job when I was 19, I think. 19, 20. First worked at like Wet Seal at like the mall. Super random. It was like during Christmas time. Definitely was not my cup of tea.
Right.
And then I ended up working because Amazon started opening up out there. I think it was the second year that the Amazon warehouse was out there, and I worked for Amazon. And then I worked as part of the staffing agency. And then I got hired into a staffing role. So I actually was like a supervisor role by like 20. And it was actually really cool because I was like, y'all trust me. Like I can make good decisions. Okay, cool. You know, but definitely, again, grown up situations. Now I'm being taught we're hiring 5,000 people, you know what I mean, for a peak season. And they're coming to me for their check. They're coming to me. I was working night shifts and stuff like that. So it's crazy, crazy, crazy time, a couple years of my life. But I was making money, and I had a car, and I had an apartment, and I was able to, you know, do all the fun stuff. Still kind of fucking everything off though, because I'm like, there was no foundation. I wasn't taught that. I just knew I needed to have a house or have a place to stay. I need to have a car, and I need to make sure that, you know, I'm doing my thing. So,
and are you still? Is music still part of your life?
Music is there. I make music every now and again when I feel really, really emotional, or when I'm like, you know, I'm just going through whatever. I'll sit down in my house and make a song or do something, but I didn't know what to do with it at the time. There was no outlet. There was people who knew I sang and knew I played guitar. And then there was, being in San Bernardino, there was very little opportunity for me as a woman by myself to be able to like venture out and talk to people and know people. I didn't really know any of the artist people.
Try to have a network. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know. I just knew how to party. Like I knew how to have fun. Yeah, I knew how to have a good time. I knew how to work. I knew how to go to work. But actually having like ties to the music, I had no understanding of like what was supposed to happen. And then I didn't really get good vibes from some of the producers I would meet or things, because then it would be like, oh, we can make you into something. Like, and I'm like, no. It's like, I don't think that one's gonna be good. And you know, I just back away. Or they would you know, they tried to shoot their shot, and I'm like, I don't like you, so I like don't even want it. And you know, it's just it just gets weird. So you know.
So I have a question. You know, one of the things I find just interesting here is that like you talk about how you're going through kind of this phase of trying to get some sense of stability.
Yeah.
Right. Some foundation.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but in my mind, and obviously I'm not here to interject in your story.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I feel like if you're making such a big thing, right, like a big decision to let your mom know, like, hey, look, this is the scenario of what's going on.
Yeah. I
would imagine that would bring you and your mother closer. Did it feel like that ever? Do you ever feel like you guys feel close?
I would say, and I mean, I don't know.
Ever like from 12 up until 21, like you guys feel it?
No. I mean, closer as in like, you know, as close as you get. Like I lived with her after a certain amount of years. Like it was like a year and a half, 2 years of us kind of moving around. My dad lost the house, and then like we were staying at friends' houses and stuff like that. So that's kind of all I was seeing and being around. And then my mom got her things and got an apartment. It was like, okay, we're taking you over here. And then I lived with her, but she was working all the time, so it wasn't really I don't think it was there wasn't enough room or space in order to like have that yet, you know. So but I think that situation just hurt everyone. You know, that situation was just like hurtful in general. So I don't, and none of us are really prepared or understood how to handle that kind of hurt. So I think in our scenario, it wasn't, it didn't really bring anyone together. It kind of just separated everybody, and everybody kind of went in their own corners and ways on how we maneuver through life.
I'm going to go into another deep question. I was going to take a sip here.
Okay. Another sip.
I don't know. We want to jump into the shit, but like, I'm sorry, my friend. You know,
no, it's okay. It's
if
okay.
you don't want to ask, you don't get go ahead.
We're here. We out here. We being real, right?
It's super real, right? When you got that news, kind of like your father was kind of entering the kind of last phases, you know. Did you ever feel like you got to get the closure with him, like to be able to kind of like, okay, let's move forward, or was it always kind of like this sense of just like, I'm just not ready yet type of thing?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Well, I'm gonna get deep then. I I made a promise to myself during the time when I knew my dad was sick. We always kind of knew it was there. It was lingering there. And I remember like we were not on good terms whatsoever. Like we weren't even there was like nothing. And I remember getting a call from him 3 months ahead of time before he passed away. And I got a call, and I told you my teeth were fucked up back in the day. And so I got braces like 4 times, like 4 different times. But I was so upset because I felt like he should have been able to at least been responsible to keep my teeth good, you know. And every time we would get the braces, it would be like, oh, you know, he doesn't have money now. So I would have them on, and then a year later there's nothing and we can't go there, or whatever the case may be. So I had that situation happen. So he calls me, and I cussed this nigga out. Like I cussed him out. I was like, you should be able to do this. Like, why can't you just do this? And that was our last conversation. And I just remember I had to make a decision within my heart during that time period that because reality is that he might not be here, you know? And so if that's the case, then I need to go ahead and accept the fact that I'm not ready to move forward. And I just had to have that conversation with myself so I can be accountable for anything that happens. Now, it did not prepare me as much as I thought it was going to prepare me when it happened. But I felt like it gave my spirit a little bit of ease of just being like, Rae, this is what you chose. You made this decision. He's not here anymore. So you're going to have to do the work now on being able to build that relationship when you feel ready, but you're going to have to do that. And you're not going to have him around to do it because you chose this part. And so I don't know. I felt like at that time that was the safest thing for me at that time because I couldn't. And I don't like being fake about it. Or like kind of like rushing things that don't need to be rushed. Like that's how I felt.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. And I had to move forward that way. So
no one's trying to like, hey, Rae.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe you should.
Yes, absolutely. But I felt like there's certain things that like, I mean, at that time, I have a lot more empathy now, a lot more understanding now. But at that time, I didn't understand because I'm like, you know, I'm thinking about me and my safety and my accountability at the time that I had to be like accountable for the things that I had to be accountable for. And I was like, well, I don't feel like, you know, he was being accountable for his stuff at the time. But like, if anything, I was more of a problem. And it was something like anytime I opened up my mouth, it was a issue because I'm not being the good, you know, obedient person. Sure. I'm not respecting the lines of parentry. I'm not. And in I've always felt like this in my spirit, and I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, but respect is respect. So I don't care where it's coming from. All I know is that if it's given, I will give. But if it's not given, then I don't know how to give that back unless it's forced. And I don't like being forced. So at that time, I didn't have any understanding. So it was like, oh, fuck it. Okay.
so now that you're past this, and you mentioned to me like you get to this kind of 21. That means your brother's around 19. Yeah. I imagine that you and him get a little bit.
No. We actually grew more apart then. I think there was a couple of years of time where I didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know what I was doing. And that was just life, like, because that was already what we grew up on, because we were already kind of like moving around like that, had our own friends, and did whatever we needed to do. So, and then also too, being accountable, I also treated him the way that my mother was treating me, with the bad parts of it. You know what I mean? So it was always some shit talking. It was always some, you need to get your shit together. It was always some, you know, something like that. That wasn't, that, you know, it was me acting like what I see and just giving that to the next person. So, can't imagine how he felt with that. And then also, you know, it's both ends weren't good, but I knew that as a big sister, I wasn't giving him the right energy that he needed. So we just weren't cool at that time.
So you're literally going through life alone.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
no one say like that. But,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like my feelings and like the things that I'm going through and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Like I have friends, I have people that are helping me through a lot of stuff, but I have so many layers to me and so many different kinds of feelings I could feel instantaneously that sometimes it doesn't feel like everybody could really understand. So
no, and that's what I find is wild, right?
Yeah.
You're like carrying this mountain of like, and whatever my perspective is different from yours.
Yeah.
But I think like you're literally like what it sounds like, what it feels like is a mountain of just I want to say pressure, but I don't think it's the right word.
Yeah.
I would just say like you have this this cloud. I think that's a better term.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you're running from going as fast as you have.
Running from
and then when you get tired, you're like, fucking, I'm gonna drink.
I'm about to be outside all night.
I'm not gonna carry it there. There.
Yeah. You know, it was
no one to console, no one to like all of it. No, like not like a part of you or like some of it, but like no one to kind of just like let it go, like to be able to just you know, like really just hey, like just get it off your chest and be able to just like really, and someone to actually do right by it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, do right by it, not like some pity party, but like really any like.
I've seen instances of it, but I didn't know how to receive it. So that was a thing already. And then I wasn't seeking it out in the right places either. Because I think a lot of that came from, okay, well, I should be able to find this romantically. Like that, I should be able to find one person that comes into my life and makes it all better.
Right.
And that's what I was searching for.
Disney story.
The Disney story. Oh, of course. Oh, man, I was a Disney crazy person. So I'm watching Disney princess movies all night, every night. I don't care. I'm 19, 20. I don't give a fuck. Like, this is my life. But, yeah, you know, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, well, you know, if I love on a man and I give him like my heart and I give him truth and honesty and all the things, and he would give that back to me, and then we can go live happily ever after and be okay. And he's mine, I'm his, all that stuff. And slowly but surely, I had to realize like that wasn't it. That's not how this works, you know, because love comes in all forms, not just romantically. So, yeah, I was very much giving it in the wrong places, looking for it in the wrong places, because I was like, well, if I go here and I share this moment with him and we can go ahead and talk and I share like these personal feelings and all that stuff, like most of the time, I don't think they were really able to receive it and understand it. It was a lot. It's a lot.
For sure.
It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of things that are happening. And, you know, so I had to. It
may change the perspective of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ah, man. I would love to. Actually, I'm going to write this down for our next show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because men need to, you know. Anyway. Can I ask you, not deep question, but just kind of a sidebar completely off topic.
Let me know. What's that?
Tattoos.
Oh.
When did that come into play?
Oh, when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my first one. It says, at least at the time from what I knew, because I also was young, but I wanted to get like a different language. I got Bengali on my spine and it was a interpretation of when all words end, music begins. So I always felt like, you know, when I was so emotional or had all these emotions, like music was always like the safe haven. I was always able to write it out and, you know, put it out in that kind of way. So. And
from then on, you just
kept acquiring.
They're all meaning, right? They're all.
Yeah. For the most part, I mean, pretty much every single one I have on me. I have 13 tattoos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the 13th tattoo that I didn't find out until after was the number 13. And this was my last tattoo that I got. And so this one, I remember after I got it, my friend was like, oh, how many tattoos do you have? It was like 2-3 days later. And I'm looking, and I'm like, I counted them. And I was like, no. I was like, no, that's not, no, okay. And it was 13. I was like, oh, shit, that's crazy. So, yeah, I have 13 tattoos. And it was really cool. But I love tattoos. I'm weird, but I like the feeling of them. Like, it's like a good pain. Like it feels good. Yeah, I have some cool ones. Like, I got this one is one of my favorites. It's a Bob Marley quote. It's emancipate yourself from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our minds. Because, we gotta know. I feel like words are very powerful. So
Huge.
anything that are gonna, especially I'm gonna put on my body, is gonna be powerful. I got the Eye of Horus in like the middle area of my chest. And then what else do I have? Oh, I have this really cool tree. It's a willow tree, and then the roots are my grandparents.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of the tree, like going up into the rest of the tree, is my grandmother, who first passed away out of all my grandparents. My father's mother. And then in the tree, like in the leaves area, is my mother's name, my brother's name, my sister's name, and then on the other side, there's like a little like one side of the tree is like life, and the other side of the tree is like death. Like it's like no leaves or anything on it. And then there's like a swing, and I just kind of made that like represent me in between polarity and my roots and my family and stuff like that. So it's really cool. Yeah. And then I have like a Leo sign, which was my first tattoo. And then this whole shoulder is like it's kind of like a kind of like just like this big art interpretation. So I have like my Leo sign, which is right here, and then I have a sun, which sun is the star of the Leo. And then on the back is a moon, because I love the moon, and it's shining the tree. And then there's like a dove. The dove is for all the people, all the people that have passed on. And then I think that's it. There's supposed to be, I'm going to get like the Virgo constellation and the Scorpio constellation on the back. My dad was a Virgo, and then my moon sign is Scorpio. So just because these are layers of me, these are all, I feel like, I don't know, I've always have this fantasy of being like this. Of being like this girl, what movie is that? There's a few movies that they have them, but like the girls that have like these hidden messages and the tattoos, and you meet her, and then it's like all the things are happening, and you only see it on her tattoos type shit. So that's like in my brain, but I made that in my real life on my body. Somebody someday is gonna be like, yeah,
Facts.
I know what that one. Yeah, she was onto something. So yeah, it's really cool.
I think the journey of especially the story of tattoos can really kind of, because it is exactly that. Yeah. Like this kind of like pain. Yeah. Right. But turning it into something that you can control. Exactly. And kind of going through kind of your life. You mentioned that you had a turning point at some point. You get to 21 and you're just realizing like, I'm tired of it. Yeah. Yeah. And you wanted to something different as you kind of go. So I'm really curious, kind of like what that next side of your life is. Yeah. And what do you do? Yeah. From then?
Yeah. So I ended up moving up in the Amazon world. Or at least the SMX staffing world. So this was before they had their own staffing agency. Yeah. So I was moving up with them, doing a lot of things, learning from a lot of people who were a part of that collective. They were all older, but all from San Bernardino, and it was really, really cool because I was a knucklehead and I was rebellious still. So it wasn't like I was out here being the perfect manager. I didn't understand the responsibility fully, but I did know how to like talk to people.
Do your job.
Yeah, and I did know how to, be able to just connect, because mind you, you're working with people in San Bernardino that need jobs, that need to pay for their kids' food, that need to have a house over their head. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And that was the thing that I really wanted to teach, because I was on top of having all the associates under me, I also had direct employees under me that were going out making sure everybody was good. And the biggest thing I would like drive to them is that, like, we don't know who's in here. You don't know what kind of life these people have had. So we can't, just because you got a, blue vest on, or you're one step up and are able to do whatever you're doing, does not mean that you can go in here and talk to these people like they're your child, and that was a big thing that I learned. And then I also wanted to teach and make sure that the others around me understood that too.
That kind of the thing you said earlier, you give respect, right?
You give respect no matter what, until you feel, there's a line crossed or whatever. But, that respect is so important.
It's not forced. It's earned. I like that.
Exactly. And so I'm moving up in there, seeing a lot of life. getting a lot of different situations handled, done. And then I made my first trip to New York during like that time. Like I remember that was like a moment when I was like, oh, this is different. Like I'm doing something different. I'm doing something that's fulfilling. And it felt so divine. And I took this trip to New York with my aunt, who was my sister, or the sister of my dad. And she is this amazing, oh my God, amazing scholar. She has a doctorate, and she got it in China, in Shanghai, and she's she's a black woman, half black, half white, and she's from Orange County, and she just thrived in the education world, and I always looked up to her in that. She was so beautiful and just strong in that, like, you know, like, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I'm gonna do it, and I'm going to do it. There's nothing about that. So she said that she made a promise to my dad to show me something different, to give me an opportunity, whether that was with school or with whatever, but she made that promise. So she said, let's go to New York. And we went to New York for, I think it was like 4 days. Well, she was already out there and I met her out there. And we had a fucking blast. Like, it was so great. She showed me so many cool things. And I think that trip changed my life, because it gave me so much understanding of, like, there's so much more out here than San Bernardino. There's so much more out here than the pain that I'm used to and that I've seen. So I was out there and did that. And I think when I came back home, I had gotten into a relationship. So I ended up being into I didn't want to leave this person for a place, because I wanted to move to New York after that. I was like, I want to go.
I don't blame you.
I was like, I want to go. But I ended up staying and just thugging it out through a situation. But I always told myself, if that situation did not work out, then I would go to New York. And that situation did not work out, and I went to New York. So, and that was probably when everything started. I was 24 or 25 when I moved to New York, and that was like a whole new journey. That was like during that 21 to 25 time was just like exploration, pain, hurt, suffering, cycles, a lot of things that I was like, I just went deep in and then had to like pull myself out of, because it was time. It was just time to move on into a different world. So.
Yeah, I think something about relationships has a good way of just kind of like not just giving you a better understanding of what that individual, but giving you a really good understanding of yourself.
Oh, man.
You know? You see her a lot. There's like this mirror that you kind of step into. You get to look at yourself in a different perspective.
Yep.
But what's worse is, though, so I think that's one of the, I think I call it worse, but is seeing who you could be. Right? And then like realizing like you're with someone in a situation, and like there's like that, I don't want to say one foot out, but there's like one pinky toe out.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
yep.
all you got to do is say it.
Yep.
And I'm gone. You know?
Out of here.
I just need you to say it.
Oh,
you know?
trust me, it wasn't that easy. It wasn't that easy. It wasn't that easy, but it happened. Like, it was, I was able to make the choice to say, I'm going to leave, because I'm not going to stay in a situation that's not going to help me thrive.
And it's still, are you still going through the world of Amazon? Is it still?
No, actually, Amazon took over the staffing, so we all got laid off. Unless you wanted to go work with Amazon, and I was like, I was good. I knew that I wanted more. I knew that, it was like, it was different. But really, I took so much knowledge, so much, because this was the early stages. So it was really cool to be able to have that knowledge in there. Where did I work after? I worked at a photography studio, random photography studio in San Bernardino, one of the only ones. So that was cool, kind of like learning that environment. Very small, very boutique. And then I worked at a creative staffing spot in Chino, which was, they staffed creatives in New York. And so that was kind of cool to kind of see that environment and see like how that worked. That was
that pre or post?
Pre New York.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was really cool. Yeah, because I was like, it was really awesome. I was like, okay, cool. We're learning a lot of stuff here. And then, but I couldn't, I was going through so much, I couldn't be consistent. And I just had to let go of that too. And just move on and find a place that made sense for me. And then after that,
well, I'm actually curious here.
Oh, go ahead.
So, when you were in kind of that relationship,
yeah.
when you're also, again, you have a lot of demons that you haven't really dealt with.
Yeah.
Were you able to deal with it then? Or was it more of just like, hey, look, I'm more focused on the relationship, not focused on like the past?
I couldn't deal with shit then.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there was nothing. It was me trying my best, but the situation and the boundaries that I never set, it was open. It was open territory to not care about myself and not love myself and not see myself for who I was. I was definitely declining into a world of focusing on a person and giving that person, like, I'm so grateful because honestly I've got to feel a kind of love that at least romantically that I feel like, you know, people search their whole lives for, you know, and it was really a really magical journey of like exploring that love. But that love, and not knowing boundaries and not knowing like what you really want and being so young, it's just, you're not gonna, it doesn't look as pretty as what you think it is. So, there's
no castle.
There's no castle, and there's no, and
you need a lot more.
There's only a dream of a castle. There's
Sure.
only the hope and the like potential of a castle, but there is no castle. And I had to learn that because that was hard. Because I was like,
optimism versus kind of the reality.
Exactly. So, but learned so much, took in so much, but knew the time was done, knew that it was time to go, and I had to figure it out. And when everything kind of came crashing down, I knew I had to go. I knew I have to go to New York.
How long were you there in New York?
I was there for 2 years.
That must have been a very interesting experience.
That was a whole different life. New York Rae is different.
That's
different.
You went from San Bernardino. You skipped LA.
Yeah.
You skipped San Francisco.
Yeah.
And you go to the most.
Yep. I was out here.
You go to that's like starting at like level 1 and you're like fighting a level like 100 boss or something, you know? It's a whole different environment.
Whole different world.
You go for 4 days and now you're there for 2 years.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, like, that New York life dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to dive into that, but
we definitely can.
I'm so curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, like, before I left to New York, I had to grind. Like, I had to figure it out because I had to make a plan. I was like, I don't know anybody in New York, number one.
She's not out there anymore. You're on?
No, she didn't live out there. She was just visiting.
Got it.
And so I just went out there. Yeah, so there was no direct source of people that I had that were out there. All I knew was that I was going. So I made a plan. I was like, I'm going to get an Airbnb for a month.
Right.
So I have to save for that.
Right.
And then I am going to get I'm going to get a job within that first month. And I'm going to learn the train system. I'm going to make sure I have enough money to have a month's worth of riding the train and everything. So that was the plan. And then I got a job at this photography company in Orange County, which was really solid, man. That was such a lucked out opportunity because I learned so much there, but I also was getting paid a really good amount to be able to travel from San Bernardino to OC for 2.5 hour drive there. That's 3 hour drive. You know what I mean? And it was like during regular traffic hours, so 91 freeway. Oh, Lord. And so it was a whole journey, but going back and forth and learned diligence, learned showing up, learned how to save, all the things. And so I ended up going to New York. I went to the airport, and that was already it was a whole spiritual shift in general. And I get to the airport, and I'm
anyone waiting for you there? You're departing with anyone saying, "See, love you, bye"?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the guy I was with.
Oh.
Yeah. So he ended up taking me. I mean, we weren't together at the time, but he took me to the airport, and that was already a thing because that was.
I understand.
My relationships were my people,
right?
Too. So that was like that was just like a whole thing that just had to happen that way. And so when I get there, it's crazy because I get to the gate and I was like, I got there like an hour, 2 hours early, and I'm sitting there by the gate. I was like, I'm gonna take a little nap. And I put my phone on alarm and everything, and I wake up, and it's like maybe like 30 minutes or I would say 20 minutes before the thing. And I'm looking around, I'm like, why is there nobody boarding and everything? And I look up, and they ended up changing gates. And so I went to go find the other gate, and then they closed it, and I couldn't get on. So my flight wasn't until later. That was at like 6 o'clock in the morning. My flight wasn't, the next flight that was open wasn't until like 10 o'clock at night. So that in general, like to start it off, I was like, oh my God. Everyone's like, you can just come back. Like, I'm like, no, I have to go. I got to get out of here. It was like that alone, I already knew, okay, we're getting blocked in all ways already, but it's okay. I cried at the airport. I had a drink. I was sitting there. I was just in a hard life. I'm like, I got to go. Can y'all just get me on a plane? Please. It was crazy, but I get out there and man, magical. I was so much freer, so much lighter, so much I had a glow. I remember having a specific glow. I remember feeling so sick throughout the time I was in San Bernardino, like that last year, and just being so sick and so drained and crying every day and just going through so much stuff. And getting out there, I remember taking a picture and I was like, "Ooh, girl, you a whole different girl." Like, you just like that, like it made me solidify that like shift and change is real within the body as well as within your environment, you know? So it was really cool. But get out there, crazy, like my first day traveling out there and like I went.
Wait, no, you got there the next day.
I got there like 4 o'clock in the morning next day. Yeah, which was kind of scary too. Like,
people are already moving.
People are already out there.
It's wild, right?
I'm like, what am I doing? I had big ass suitcases. I'm like, okay, let me figure this out. I got to get to my Airbnb. I don't even know if they're up. I don't know what's going on. I was trying to figure. And I lived in Brooklyn, so the spot was in Brooklyn, and I love that area.
My pops is from Brooklyn.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, no, it was. I love Brooklyn. It was so dope, and it was like the area that I was in at that time wasn't like super gentrified yet, so it was like still real. It felt like San Bernardino again. Right. I felt like I was home. Like I was like, oh, it's just a hood in a new hood. Like it's like not. It's all people are all real still, you know, and that was really cool. And I just remember like I had an interview and I got ready and I left the house. I got on the train. I'm learning the train. Definitely got on the wrong train. Went downtown instead of uptown, and I ended up on like Wall Street. And I just get off the train and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I'm at. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, I'm freaking out. And then I realized, I checked my pockets. I lost my month train pass, because I didn't have a backpack or anything. I just had it in my pocket. So I'm sitting on the train and get up and everything. And then I lost the key to the Airbnb. And I only went out there with like $400. Right. Like I literally, and then by the time I got landed, because I had to pay for like my bags and stuff, literally I had like 3 something. And then I bought $100 pass for the train. And I'm sitting there like, I just lost it. And I lost the key.
Yikes, dude.
I'm like, what is going on? It was crazy. I was like, yeah, it was wild. So I look around, I see TJ Maxx, and I was like, that looks safe. I'm gonna go there. Love TJ Maxx, by the way. It's like definitely like one of my you catch me at TJ Maxx, I've had a hard day. Okay, so I'm saying, so I go in there and we end up I end up just like walking around. It's November, so it's around Christmas time, right. All that stuff, and all I hear is we're hiring today, on the thing, and I was like, okay. Oh, mind you, I missed my interview too because I got lost. Right, so I don't know. I didn't know where I was at. So I'm like, I gotta find a job. This is crazy. I gotta figure this out. I get in there. They said that. I asked somebody. I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? I heard it over the thing, and they were like, no. And I was like, okay. And then I went to like somebody else. Like something just told me just ask somebody else because they said it on the intercom. There's no way that they're not hiring if they didn't, whatever. So ask somebody else. They're like, oh yeah, no, I can take you to the person. I ended up getting hired that day. Like literally, like they gave me an interview, they called my reference, and they called me the next morning that night and said, we're going to have you start on this day or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. Thank the Lord. And I figured it all out in my pass. Luckily I paid with a card, and they refunded me. And then I was able to get another card, and then I got another key that night. So worked out crazy. But that was my first day.
Shout outs to Pass Ray for not giving. She's like, all right, hell no. Listen, I'm from San Bernardino.
We're not playing. We know
how to. I'm gonna make it happen.
We figured it out. That was crazy. So that that
must have been a huge confidence boost.
Oh, hey, you couldn't tell me shit. You could, but it was this. I got to stand up tall and be like, Ray, you figured it out. Yeah. You powered through. You got through, and then you got the job.
Right.
And then you got like now you're gonna have some kind of money coming in. Now you're gonna figure out, there's gonna be
Just
things,
next steps, yeah.
next steps. Like we're good, and you're in New York. Like we're out here. Like, so it was really dope. That just sparked the whole journey of being able to be on my own, do my own thing, and really be on my own. I was alone, like you had mentioned earlier. Like I felt like I was alone a lot of my life, like doing my own kind of thing, figuring out life. But there were still people around. There were still like, I can call them like, hey, I really need your help. Can you help me? Like if I had called people, that would have been a thing. But when I went out there, it was a whole different energy, because it was like, I don't know anyone out here. So if something happens right now, there's not really much anybody can do about it. And that reality was hard, because I was ready for the new journey, but I was not ready for that feeling of like not feeling safe or not feeling like there's people around me. So I really had to trust in a higher power. I really had to trust. And I actually began my journey on spirituality or whatever, just figuring out what I believe in, what my soul, what my core believes in, because I feel like it's all different things that you just learn and pick up, and you just apply it into your way of life. So I remember I read this book called God in Human Form by Reza Allen, and that was I just kept being fed so much positivity and so much good energy of like, you're on the right path, you're learning the right things, you're inquiring about the right things, you're speaking up when you need to, you're giving yourself a chance when you need to. So it was a really amazing journey, and I ended up getting another job out there doing some like work, like office management work at like a real estate office. Crazy too. I met this guy out there. He was a realtor in there, and he was like, oh, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from LA, or I don't think I said LA. I think I said just California, like Southern California, because I was like I was very strict. I was very strict on that, because I'm like, I'm from San Bernardino, so but I don't wasting time having the conversation sometimes is kind of like, so I believe I told him, I was like, oh, I'm from like a part of California that's like, a little close to LA or whatever, and he was just like, oh, where? And I was like, it's called San Bernardino, and he was like, oh, where? And I was like, do you know? He was like, I'm from San Bernardino, I just grew up there. And he's like, I went to Cal State San Bernardino. I was like, what are the odds? Like we were here, and he ended up knowing one of my homegirls, and like it was a whole thing. So it was like really cool, like just having those like little moments of time where I was like, wow, like this is so home. Yeah, exactly. So had that job for a little bit, and I had all my jobs are really dope. They were in really, really cool places, because my first job was on Wall Street at TJ Maxx, so that was cool. I mean, San Bernardino and then go to Wall Street, like that's kind of crazy. You see all these buildings, you're like, oh shit. And then I had the other job was in Harlem, so that was cool to kind of be right near Central Park and just kind of like have that. And then they had another office in downtown Brooklyn, so I got to go to that one too. And it was like they were reimagining the whole area. What year is this? This is 2017 to 2019. Yeah.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
What brought you home?
Yeah, well, actually I felt like I did my time. New York was great. It was amazing. And I mean, on top of that, I worked at a chiropractic nutrition office, and that it was all holistic stuff. So I learned a lot about my body, a lot about how to maintain, a lot about the fact that I was able to get over on the depression. Like I was able to like assess it. Like I don't have to be this miserable. Like if I have the right things in my body and do the right things, like I can actually look at everything tactically and then be able to handle it, rather than being so all of that. So taking all that knowledge and feeling everything around me, it was like New York kind of just, it was like, okay, it's your time. Like you're good. You did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. And it was during that time, the last year I was there, I put out my first 2 projects while I was out there. And that was when I like took music seriously. Like I started to take music seriously, like very seriously, like with all the tools that I had around me. So my first project, Sounds Like Rae, I put that out in 2019, I believe. And when I put it out, I put out a billboard in San Bernardino, like when I was in New York. So it was like this like really cool moment to like solidify like, okay, Rae, you are grown. you've done the work, you've done the things that you felt like you needed to do. Now it's time to really start doing the things that make you and solidify you as an artist and as what you want to be for your future, for your career, type stuff. So it was really cool. So I did that, and then I did another thing, and I was traveling back and forth, and I had a show out in San Bernardino that I did every other month, and it was like live band and all that stuff. And then I put out my second project and release parties, stuff like that. So it was like it was things were moving, and I was like, okay, I think it may be time to like take this energy and then go somewhere else. So I was gonna go to New York or to Atlanta. And so my family, I actually have family out there, and I don't get to see them all the time. So it was like this energy of like, okay, well, let's go there and let's be with the family. They have kids, and it's like I want to be around and everything. So I think I just had a moment where I just put everything in line and talked to everybody I needed to talk to, and decided I was gonna drive to Atlanta, and I just packed up everything and went down there. And I
did it feel the same the first time leaving New York?
It did. It felt like the same energy. Like it's like time to go. It's time to be around family now. You've done the work on the other side, so let's go ahead and do what you need to do. And I purposely did like a 3-day trip. So I went to like Atlantic City first and stayed the night there just to see. I've never been there before, so went there, and then I went to Virginia Beach. That was cool. So that, just taking in all the water, taking in all the just the life and activities. And then I drove down to Atlanta or North Carolina to see my aunt and my dad's side of the family. We have some family out there. And then went to Atlanta. But I was going back to California for 2 weeks to do a show. And my grandmother was sick, and so it was like a couple things where I was like, okay, let me make sure I go back really quick. So I was in Atlanta for like 6 hours, and literally I was there, and then I like left like most of my stuff there, and then I came to California with like a 2-week suitcase, and I realized my grandmother was really sick, and so I was seeing her in the hospital every morning when I was out there, and I was like, and me and her we just had a moment, and I was just like, oh, it's time. It's about that time. She's done. Like, she's not gonna do this anymore. And so that was a crazy thing. And I just was like, I don't think it's time. Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's time to leave yet. So I ended up staying in California. So I was supposed to be in Atlanta, but I got redirected and came back to San Bernardino and thugged it out and just was like, let me figure this out.
What's interesting is because COVID is such a big thing for such a big thing, especially when you have. It felt like 2019 was like things were getting,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
For us too, everybody. Every time I talk to someone, it's like, dude, I was doing tour, and then
everything was gone in an instant. What's crazy too, it was like I'm telling you, that voice, that protection, that it's always there because I came home. If I was in New York and COVID happened, my biggest fear in life is like being in New York or on an island at all and a zombie apocalypse happens. Yeah. And like that's literally what this shit felt like. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this would have been wild. I am so grateful that I am home. And San Bernardino, so like a lot of the overly exerted restrictions that were happening weren't happening. They weren't happening. So it was like I felt so safe, and nobody was outside. I was outside. I was at the beach by myself. I was because I love being by myself. Like after New York, I was like, I'm traveling around doing whatever I want by myself. So
you had freedom.
Man, this was great. I was like, but I also understood the circumstances, and I'm also a little on the other side of things, especially learning a lot of the holistic stuff.
No worries. I have a PM show.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, there's all the things. Exactly. So, but I learned how to, I just learned that there were things that were happening that were explainable in the knowledge that I had. Sure. So I wasn't as fearful about everything that was happening just because I understood. And yeah, it was great. COVID definitely changed a lot of things. And I feel like it was, for me personally, in my own personal life, it was like the test of my survival, the test of how I got through a lot of different things and how am I going to get through this thing, knowing that everyone's energy is about to shift. Because for me, it was like, oh, I've been here before. I know what this looks like. I know what this feels like. A lot of my friends, a lot of people, I seen people just drop under the pressure, drop under what's going on. And I was like, ooh, this is real. Like this
Some people take it,
is real. This is real different. And you know, everything transpired after COVID and all the things after that. It was just like, just life changed. So it was like, you had to keep going. You had to figure it out. So,
is there any, I think we get the tail end of like kind of the main story.
yeah.
I'm curious on like, is there any key people looking kind of back at your life that you may have forgotten or you would like to just highlight from your past, or people that may have really influenced you and helped you become where you are? Even whether it be during COVID or pre-COVID, just like, I know it's like after Christ, before Christ.
I know, right?
Pre-COVID,
That's literally what it is.
post-COVID.
That is hilarious. Oh my God. The acronym too, because I've seen the acronym before. So it's like, it's like really a thing.
It's like real life.
Oh my goodness. I am so heavily influenced by everyone I meet. So it really comes in phases. But right now, personally, I'm really grateful for my brother, my little brother. He's just such a strong, amazing human being, and always has been. But I know we talked about how we weren't that close, but when I got back from New York, we took the time to sit down and put our relationship first.
COVID gave you that time too, probably?
Yeah, definitely. And we grew up. Things look different. We went through a lot of different things, and now we are able to come back and be like rational about what we went through, rather than just kind of getting triggered or not wanting to talk about it or shutting down or anything like that. It was like, no, we can talk now because we understand. And we both learned how to give each other our specific needs to be able to talk about these things.
This was finally the moment you were able to have someone, I want to say confide, I hate this word, but it's the best term I can think of. You had someone who actually can understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was asking the whole entire story.
Yeah.
Who can you talk to?
I know, but I do have people. Okay, it's just, sure. There are people there. It's just I'm so influenced by so many different people.
Sure.
That is like, it's really hard to pinpoint one person to another. But my brother was someone that I'm now being where I'm at. I'm just so grateful to be aware of the relationship that we have created. Because even then I had a homegirl, her name is Erica, and me and her, like, we bonded. And she's like a sister cousin, because we understood that. But I mean, every phase in life, I can just go back into someone who came in and we were able to be rocks for each other, able to be that for each other. And I think that's a really cool thing, is like, no matter what I went through, I always still was able and blessed with community of some sort. And each phase that I go through, there's more community and there's more love and there's more understanding a person, rather than just wanting things to go the way that I feel like they should go because of all of my pain and all of my hurt and all of my triggers. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like we understand where we're at. And so I just highlight my brother because that relationship was so worth it. And it was worked for. We worked for it, and we both got to feel what it was going to be like to work for something like this. So, you know, it feels really good. It feels really good to know that me and him have that. But I would say that is someone who is right as of right now, as of today, how I feel today. Like, that's someone who is just inspiring to me. You know, so.
Looking back at your life.
Yes.
We went through the whole thing.
I know.
You started off as like this kid who was extremely free. There's no problem in the world. Life is great. Disney story. I am the story, okay?
Yep.
I am the center of attention. Life is great. I'm doing it. And I mean, you're interacting with not just your grandfather, your grandmothers. Mm-hmm. Like, you're having just this music side of you. You're seeing this idol, you know, the idol that your father is in the community, right? Your mother and how close you are, and then just the bombshell that's dropped on you, and your whole world just completely nuclear reaction changes.
Right.
And your reaction to this is just like you're finding yourself, not in the best places,
Yeah.
but you're not, like, music is not giving up on you.
Yeah.
You know, your saxophone, where you're good in that world.
Yeah.
Your mentality in terms of, like, who you want to become, you know, like, that's a part of you. You know, like, hey, man, college is not best in my future, but I know music is.
Yeah.
I know this is a part of me, but you still, everyone's running from some demon.
Yeah.
Your demon is definitely Hennessy. Okay.
Just saying.
And a friend, you know, maybe
exactly. Hennessy was definitely.
but, like, you're growing through it, and you're not letting it fully defeat you. You haven't given up. You're still fighting,
Yeah.
right? You're fighting in your way that you see that's best. And even when you lose your father and you're going through that kind of cycle, you still recognize that, hey, look, you have a lot of work that you need to do internally.
Right.
And the transformation that your uncle gives you and helps that he pulls you out of the world and shows you just a taste of something more.
Yeah.
It gives you a spark, especially with your aunt,
Yeah.
to go and see the world in a whole different perspective.
Yep.
Flying to New York and going out there for those 4 days changed your life. Coming home and just, like, not really wanting to give up on it, but knowing, like, that's where you want to go.
Yeah.
You have this relationship that you sit in for a second, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I'm going to give it everything I got. And all you have, really, and that's in you is love.
Yeah.
That's all you wanted to give is love. And knowing that at some point, like, it's just maybe not enough. And so you recognize that transitioning all the way to New York, maybe this is the chance where not only you can know what you're capable of, but can help you kind of get the castle, right?
Yeah.
Going out to New York, you kill it. You're doing your thing. You got lemons, and you, like, sell the lemons, and then you buy more lemons, and you turn the lemons into lemonade, and you, like, sell the lemonade, and it sucks. You have no sugar. And you're like, all right, let me get some water, get some sugar. Like, you're making it happen somehow, some way. I ain't leaving. Okay. 2 years later, after the whole grind, going for multiple jobs, but going through your journey, your cycle of understanding who you are and what you want to become.
Yeah.
You get to come home, but not before you get to go and see, like, Atlanta, and be able to experience, like, kind of that little pit stop there and having a little, you know, a little bit of space, and coming home, obviously being home. And I think those last moments with your grandmother really just made the full perspective.
Yeah.
And got you and your brother closer. Obviously, COVID happens. You got to spend more time at home.
Yeah.
Looking back at your life, looking back at your past.
That was a crazy journey there. Like, hearing it from a different perspective is wild. But yes.
Any regrets? Anything you would change? How do you feel about your life? How do you feel kind of where you were started, how your life, your answers, everything to where you are now?
Definitely no regrets. So thankful, so grateful. So grateful to have given an opportunity to choose myself and choose the love that I have within me and see what kind of alchemy I can make with that, you know, what kind of magic I can make with that. I am great. Just all the things that I've gone through just made me so much more wiser, made me so much more attentive, so much more caring, so much more empathetic. I feel like, I mean, trust me, I get frustrated and I have the things that I go through. I'm like, fuck, I'm going through this shit. But, you know, at the end of it all, when I turn around and I'm able to receive negativity, turn it into something of light, and then give it to someone else that's light, and give them whatever that is needed at that moment, like being used as a vessel, it's worth it every time, every single time. And I feel like I do a lot of that with my music, turn a lot of my pain, a lot of my stories into music. And I've seen the shifts that it puts in people. And I know that it would never have been that way or that powerful if I didn't go through the things that I actually went through. So no regrets, never regretting anything. Other than saving some more money, but you know, we got to grow. You know, we got a lineage of not financial illiteracy. So you know, we're going through that phase of breaking that. But outside of that, just so grateful for every experience that I've had, good or bad. It's really been an interesting journey to only be 28. And have gone through all this stuff is kind of wild to me. So I'll just be like, okay, what's next? What's next, God?
Looking in the future, what's the dream? You know, like, what do you want out of life? What are you fighting for? What's the goal? What does future Rae look like? And yeah, man, what's the vision
Yeah.
Aspiration?
I have a lot of things in my brain. I mean, as you can see, I could talk a lot, so there's a lot of it's a lot of things in my brain that I feel like I want to do. But the plan, the knowing of where I want to be at is knowing that I have a strong foundation of a home that anyone can come into and they are feeling or can be healed, because that's so necessary. And just have a strong family, with the nephews and nieces and family members, and also with the future family that I want to have, and just being able to do all of those things freely. And that means that all the little things, as in, I wouldn't call, I call them little in the perspective of things, but that means, my photography business, building that up and making sure that is where it needs to be in order to provide, a foundation for the life that I want to have and want to live in the future. And music, and being able to just do music freely. I mean, if you can put me in a room in the mountains with my coffee and my all my instruments and a recording studio set up, like, I will be the happiest girl in the world, like, literally. And that's really, I would say that's the dream. But definitely putting the stepping stones and the steps, knowing that is something that is earned, and that's something that I have to work for and work towards. So building that foundation to create that, because I'm definitely leaving. I'm going to the mountains. I'm being somewhere isolated by myself, so I can really find that true power and be used and be of service in the most powerful and divine way possible. So, yeah.
That was awesome. So we have a final segment that we do.
Yes.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
Oh no, I've talked enough. I'm like, we're good.
So we have a final segment that we do.
Yeah.
That's focused on we call it the deep questions section.
Ooh,
okay.
deep
So we have
question.
it feels really cool to ask you some of these questions after kind of hearing your life and going through it.
Yeah.
So you ready to jump into it? You need a taste? You need a drink?
Yeah. Oh my. Deep questions.
Yeah, maybe you need a sip before we get started.
This tea was amazing, by the way.
Again, I'm going to take this time to tell everybody, so please, if you can, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. She put her heart into this. We would love to kind of hear you guys' thoughts about the story and kind of jump into it before we get into the segment. But the deep question section. Okay, so
question section.
I'm not going to ask you any specific order, right?
Okay.
But elaborate as much as you like. So the first question, what's the last thing you learned about yourself that surprised you?
That I may be the problem. Sometimes. That was yesterday. Yesterday's lesson. I learned about I'm always on a learning journey, so I'm always open to learning something in general. But the most recent one that was powerful, that was like, I was like, damn, I really might be the problem sometimes. And I gotta accept it, be accountable, move forward. But that was a hard one. I mean, who wants to be the problem sometimes? Who wants to do that? But I gotta be real. So
love it. Second question, name your top 3 pet peeves.
I don't really, okay. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, because I don't really have any, I'm really adaptable, but I'm learning that, it's good to have boundaries and things that you just don't like. A big thing for me is people who don't drink water. Like, when they be like, oh, I don't drink water. I'm like, that shit is wild. I'm like, you want to be poisoned? Like, what is this? No, but water, because we were made of water. We need water. Water is it's so powerful.
60% of our body's water, something like that.
Hello. I'm like, we got to cleanse. We got to make sure our bodies are. That's why niggas be mad, because we ain't drinking water. No, that is a big thing for me. All my friends are gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Because the road rage. Oh, it pisses me off. Oh my god, it's so hard because I'm like super chill. I'm just like, as long as you're safe, You driving safe.
Yeah, I get you. I feel you. I know
we're
exactly
good.
what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're good. Like, if you just drive,
Just relax.
everything can happen around you. There could be an accident. There could be all these things. Like, but it's like none of your business. Like, you're driving. Let's get to your destination safely. So my brain be like, what is going on? And what kills me the most is when people be they'll get mad. They're like, oh, honk the horn. The fuck? What are they doing? Then they do the same shit right after. I'll be like, they just got, and you mad. Okay, everybody's mad. All right. So yeah, that's a crazy one. Third one. I really can like manage with a lot of things. I'm really good with just like letting people be themselves because it is what it is. But yeah.
If you had to force a third one.
But like a third, I'm just third pet peeve. I mean, I'm just in this phase of rejuvenating in the most healthiest ways possible. So when others want things and they're like, oh, I want to do this, but they don't put in the work to do it. Like it's very frustrating because it'd be like, oh, I want to do this and I want to make this happen. And I'll be like, okay, well, this is what we got to do. 1, 2, 3. And then they'd be like, well, no, I wanted to do it like this. And I'm like, okay.
So you're more of a doer.
Absolutely. You want to do something, you do it.
Right,
you make it happen in whatever form that looks like. And you accept that and you be accountable for that. So when I have, and I had to grow out of that too because there's a lot of, especially being in San Bernardino, it just stops. There's a certain level where things just stop.
Right.
And I've just done so many things where I'm like, and then under certain circumstances where it's like, there's no excuses anymore.
Facts.
There's no excuses. You figure it out. You figure it out, and then you forgive yourself if you've made the mistake, and then you keep going.
Right. It's
So,
2023.
exactly. Like, we're good. But there's also room for people to love in between there
And
make it happen. But don't complain about it for 4 days straight and then call 20 people about it and then do the whole thing because then it's really not going to happen after that. So, yeah, I would say that would probably be a third one. But those are very, I don't know.
No, it's good. It's good. What's the most important thing you didn't do but should have done?
Most important thing I didn't do but should have done. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. As in, like, things that I just be looking back on, like, yeah, right. That we could have did it this way, and that would have been a thing. But I think learning to just love myself more first. Like, I think that I went a lot of my life giving to others and loving others, and very deeply and whatever kind of way, and then I lost it for myself. So I didn't think I deserved love. I didn't think I deserved all of that. So I would say that, like that, because I spent a lot of years just pouring into people that I thought were going to fill me up that way, but that never happens. Like, you have to fill your own self up. You have to give your own self love. So
fill your cup.
Yeah.
If you could have any job in the world, what would it be and why?
Oh my God, I love this question. I want to be an Imagineer. I always wanted to be one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's lit.
I love Disney. I love Disney. So I'm like,
full circle.
I love Disney, and I've watched every documentary. I've read almost every book. I'm just very intrigued by how Walt Disney himself was able to create something out of nothing, and make that shit happen, and it's cracking. Like, so I really love the all the rides. Like, Disneyland's like another safe place for me. So whenever I'm there, rides are always awesome. So I've always wanted to be a part of the Imagineer team and create a ride, whether that's through my music or through whatever artistry, because I'm really into a lot of different kind of arts as well. So I'm just that's definitely a dream of mine. I know I'm gonna make it happen one day. But
Disney, hit her up.
Gang,
you know
gang.
what time it is. Final question.
Yes.
What do you think you were born to do, but aren't doing, and why?
Ooh. I'm doing all of it. I'm doing all of it. I've learned very early on what I feel. I learned very early on that it's forever evolving. I'm just being of service. So whatever is asked of me, then I will do and I will make happen. And especially if it feels just divine and right in my heart, that is what's happening. And I'm just grateful to have learned that a lot earlier than most people, because being of service is probably one of the most fulfilling things, is the most fulfilling thing that I do. And I'm so grateful that I do it with such a great heart, because it feels good every single time. Even if it's like the worst day, I'm like, okay, let me go. And then I fucking make some magic, because it just makes because you give yourself to it, you surrender. And so, I being of service is the thing that I feel like I'm meant to do and I'm doing. So, yeah.
Rae Smith, you have such an amazing story. I'm grateful to actually hear it. I think the one thing I want to touch on, I know we didn't do it, but there's one thing I think I learned. I always like to talk about what I've learned from your story, from this whole experience.
Yeah.
Hearing your story, the number one thing I've heard, and I just let me say odd because you didn't mention this at all, but it's just what I caught.
Yeah.
Is how important a promise could be, and how important it is to make sure that if you promise something, you keep your promises. And you don't know who that. It's like a butterfly effect. You don't know who's gonna affect.
Yeah.
And if you have a promise, you don't know what's gonna happen, or what it's gonna go, or where that's gonna create, or the life that's gonna be able to influence. But the promises were made. Is the promise meant kept.
Yeah.
And everyone makes mistakes, and that's fair. But I think one of the biggest things is to learn.
Yeah.
And to grow. So. Where can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, all of my things are at Sounds Like Rae. Sounds Like Rae with an E. And you can find everything, like all of my music. I have a project named Sounds Like Rae, so it's really easy to find, like on Apple Music and stuff. And then I have my photography, which is Creatively Rae. And that's, you can find me in San Bernardino. I have a photo studio out there, so that's usually where I'm at, and I just continue to invite artists and invite anyone who wants to just be captured in all their light, So that's what I do. But yeah, Sounds Like Rae or Rae.
We appreciate you joining us, and to everyone, thank you for tuning in. Just like always, please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and connect with some of the artists here. And we're excited to kind of give more life and exposure to people who, and maybe in a small way or in a big way, in any way, are able to influence us. They may be making moves that you don't even know,
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited. The final thing I think we got to go over, thanks to Sarah, is the painting.
Yeah.
The artist who actually donated this painting is my wife.
Really?
She's sitting right there.
Really? I'm like, wait, I didn't know you guys were married. That's so beautiful. Yeah. I love this even more. Okay, continue.
So one of the biggest things here is that I know Sarah ran out of green. But one of the funny the things that you mentioned was is Central Park. And I don't know if you've ever been there during autumn, but so I know that it's she almost captured a bit of it there too. But I like the fact that you also have a tattoo of a tree. Yeah. It's kind of weird how certain things kind of align. Yeah. But I know she wanted to she's probably glad that you chose hers. Yeah. It was not fate. You could
exactly. See how that worked.
But this painting was donated to you. This is going to be on our wall, and we just want to archive this life, and we appreciate you just sharing it and it means a lot to us and means a lot to her.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, it means a lot to us. And I
love that.
I don't know if you have any comments about that.
No, why
did you choose that?
I love trees. Oh, okay. I love trees. I actually, when I pass on, I want to be cremated and then put into the earth as a tree. Because I love the just all of the love. Like, it provides shade, it has life, there's roots, there's deep roots, and they know their roots, and it's a life source that just gets to sit and be still, but gives so much at the same time. And it's also another thing of like letting go, because the leaves come and go, so letting go and rebirth and renewal and all that stuff. So trees, anytime, I'm always in there in the tree world.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and for being a part. Any final thoughts for anyone listening, or?
Oh no, just thank you. Thank you so much for this. This was really amazing. I'm like actually really excited about this. I love the whole energy is just really beautiful, and it's really cool to be able to talk about things so deeply but so lightheartedly as well, and it feels safe. So
Cool.
appreciate it.
Let's get to know. Thank you, everyone, and everyone have a good night. Peace.